Hey everyone, welcome everyone on our second weekend crypto meetup. To begin with, I just want to tell you what's gonna happen today and what our agenda looks like. There's gonna be a quick introduction after 10 minutes or maybe 15, it depends on the introduction. We're gonna start with the presentation of Bartek. He's gonna introduce you to what NEM is, and he's gonna show you how to create a nano wallet. And then we're gonna have a panel discussion with Lon Wong and also with Enrique Melero. We are hoping we're gonna be able to ask them the questions that are, slightly uncomfortable to answer, and that you're gonna get some real knowledge from the meetup. And after that, we're gonna have half an hour for beer, pizza, networking, and then we're gonna head off to the bar. The address of the bar is on the screen, so you can find it easily. Okay. To start with, I just wanted to thank everyone for organizing this meetup, because obviously it's a long list, and I have it on my phone because it's super long, and I really can't remember who is that. So to start with, it's my brother, Pedro. Where are you? I think he's missing. He's the organizer of this event as well, and he's also my business partner. We are co-founders of Fiat-based token project based on blockchain. Another one is Bartłomiej Sanak and Przemysław Szustak, who invited Lon to Poland. Where are you guys? Show yourself. No, you're not here either. Oh, wow. We wanted to thank our media partners, BitHub, Crypto News, and Daubit, because they write articles about us, and we are really grateful for all this marketing support. Also, Alex Casas, who I hope is watching us online, because he is contributing to our marketing in Spanish community. We've got also sponsors, main sponsors, NEM Foundation, thank you so much for sponsoring the event, and also Crypto Academy, who are our sponsors of Pizza Forever, and VP of the Heart, Mr. Sergiusz. And we would like you to tell us a few words about the venue and what's happening here, right? So welcome, Mr. Sergiusz on the stage. It's so difficult.
Thank you. Hi. Hi, guys. Thanks a lot. My name is Sergiusz Savin. I'm the co-founder and VP of the Heart. So I would like to welcome you all very much at the Heart and share a few words on what's this place about, what's happening. So the idea is that what we're doing here is we're building the European Center for Corporate Startup Collaboration, actually, and the aim of the Heart is to become this hub that connects young startups, young technology companies, big corporations, VC funds that can jointly together develop some innovations in all areas of the business, including fintech, of course. One of the most important projects that we have is the fintech program for like 8 Polish banks, where we give them some solutions and present some solutions on cybersecurity, on big data, also on blockchain, which is going to be the next round. So if you have any interesting solutions that you want to talk about with the banks, feel free to contact our team or visit the website and send it to us, because we're constantly developing the database of interesting solutions. So the Heart was established, started in January. We're working with around 100 corporations right now. We matched them with around 1,000 startups already. So there are lots of things are happening here. And we would just like to wish you a very good day today. Enjoy the view. We love the view every day. So as you can see, you're in the open part of the Heart. The Heart consists of 2 parts, like every Heart. I guess they have 4, but there's an open part, which is the conference center, the lounge, and the place where you might spend time enjoying the view and the food and the wine and or beer or pizza. And there's the closed part, which is further down there, where we have offices, where we have a bit of a co-working space for some of our scale-ups and startups, and also we have M Accelerator, who is also living here in the Heart. So hope you have an opportunity also to spend some time looking around. So again, thanks you for coming, and thanks for the guys. I hope it's going to be a very exciting event. And as I said, if you have any interesting technology where you feel you would like to meet and talk to startups, just talk to us, and we'll try to guide you to the right person in the corporations. So thanks a lot.
And Crypto Academy would like to say a few words about what are they doing. Is Tomasz here? Can you see here? Okay, he's gonna tell you a few words about Crypto Academy later on. So Bartłomiej, okay, sorry. The stage is yours. You have a microphone?
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay, so I will start with NEM. What is it? It's of course a blockchain platform and cryptocurrency. I would like to tell you more about it, but I only got like 20 minutes introduction. So I decided just to show you the principles of NEM system, how it works, and why I like it so much, because it's not one of those experimental blockchains. It's already working solution, and I will present it in a second. Here how a Nano Wallet services tab looks like. Nano Wallet is a JavaScript based wallet of NEM platform. NEM platform is like 2 layers. It's everything that is going on the blockchain, and we've got those API requests for this database, and we can use it for different purposes. So as we can see, we can create multi-signature and multi-user accounts. We can create namespaces, which are like your domains in the blockchain. Delegated harvesting is like way of mining in the NEM platform, but I won't talk about it today. You can read about it later. I posted a lot of articles about it in Polish cryptocurrency media, so you can read about it. Apostille is like notarization on the blockchain. You can use this feature to notarize your documents to see if they are the same documents that other people posted, if they are original or if they are changed. Mosaics is like tokens on the blockchain, so we can create our own tokens in NEM platform in just doing few clicks here in the wallet. And of course we've got a voting section. We can vote in our proof of importance system, which is like a modified proof of stake, or we can just create voting polls with whitelisted pools of accounts that are available to take a vote. So I will start from introducing a smart asset, which are like the tokens on the NEM blockchain. And we can create multiple different assets. They can be transferable, as we can see on the screen. So we can have Bill, who is creating this asset, this token, and he is selling this token to Bob or David, or he's giving them this token for free. And then they can transfer this token to other people, and those other people can transfer it back and do those kind of transfers. But we also can create non-transferable assets. Let's assume we want to create our company, and we want to differentiate every people in the company that is working for us. So we will give them this non-transferable asset, and because of that, we will know that if we look into this person wallet, we will know that he is working for us because he got this token and he can't trade it with other people. Also, in NEM token platform, we are able to create the levy, which are like taxes. So we can create this tax on the token. So every time I'm sending this token with tax to someone, I can gain on it because the tax may be like 10% of the token worth. So every time somebody transfers 100 tokens, he needs to pay me as a creator of this token like 10 those tokens just to transfer those. And it can be like in percentages or like a fixed amount, like 1 token for every transaction. And I will show it in the Nano Wallet right now. So here I created Nano Wallet Meetup Warsaw wallet. And I want to create a token for our meetup, which is Wicked Crypto Meetup. So first, I need to be known for the blockchain. So I need to create namespace. So this namespace, as I said earlier, it's like my name in the blockchain. It's like in it's like in internet, it's like a domain. You can only have one domain, like Facebook.com, Google.com. So the same in blockchain. While I'm creating this domain, so let's create it. There is only one in the system, and you can create another one. So I'm creating it. Just a second. And it's registered. I need to wait until it will be confirmed. So it should take up to 1 minute because in NEM platform, block time is 60 seconds. So it should take up to 1 minute to confirm. And then I can create token on top of this namespace. So let's wait, and I will just put, okay. And to create a mosaic, these mosaics, as I said, are the tokens on the NEM blockchain. I can't create them currently because, as I said earlier, my account is still unknown to the blockchain, so let's wait a little more. Meantime, I will tell about another solution. So it's apostille, which is like notarization on the blockchain. How can we use it? Let's say many people here got the paper wallets when they are coming into this room. Those paper wallets were made by the software. So I downloaded this software to my computer, but I had to trust the person who made this software. So I had to check if this software is the original one, because if I would make those paper wallets with corrupted software, the people may have some keylogger on it or some other malware, and all of those money you got may be stolen. So I checked this file if it was notarized on blockchain, NEM blockchain, and I had to check the owner of this notarization. So if the owner, I mean the person who created this software, was the same that created this apostille, I was perfectly sure that this software was safe. So this transaction was just confirmed, and let's create a token. So I will call it crypto. And let's say, how many people do we have on this room? I think about 150. So I will create 150 tokens, and I won't make them divisible because let's say I want to have one token only for one person here in this room. So of course I could. That means that I have more places behind the comma, but I don't want to do that. I checked the signed transferables, but let's say I don't want to, because I want to give every person here on this room one token, and I want them to have it forever. So even if you don't go to another meetup, you will still have this token. And if it was transferable, I could require a tax for transferring them, but let's say I don't want to create this kind of tax for transferring the token. So I won't do that. And I created this token. It's currently on the blockchain waiting to be added to another block. So I was talking about this apostille concept. So let's check it. I created this file, which is a txt file. I called it apostille and made the content that Wicked Crypto is the best. Of course. So just to check it, yeah. So I want to notarize it. So let's say I want to put it with my account number, which is this one, to the blockchain. So with the date of the current block. So later, when I will be using this file, I will be sure that this is the file I put it on the blockchain. So let's go into services. Let's create apostille. You can choose different hash function. I'll just choose the first one. I need to make it public so everyone can check it. I'm putting the password in. And it's as easy as just dragging into, sorry, I need to make a tag. Just easy as dragging into the field. And it's added. Now I need to send this transaction. It will process a while. As well, it needs to be included on the blockchain. Now I've got the file. This file is very important because in this file, I've got all informations I need. That means the signed file with the hash transaction and the date. I've got this certificate which shows me that this file was signed by this person on this time. My address, address of the apostille, because apostille is like the address on the blockchain. So while sending this transaction, notarization, we are sending information to another address that is on the NEM blockchain, and we can later change the status of this apostille. I mean, I can update it. I can create another file and update it from my account. So it will be updated version, but it's more complicated, so I won't do it now. But let's say I want to make changes to this file. Is the worst. We've got the hacker. Worst. Okay. And now we want to audit this file. I mean, we want to check if this file was the original file. So let's, it's just still unconfirmed, so I will need to wait a while. So maybe I will talk about next solution and wait for it to be included in the blockchain. No. So another thing is the voting. We can vote on the blockchain. So we can create our own polls. We can vote both by the original NEM consensus algorithm, which is proof of importance, or we can create the pool of addresses, because as we all know, one people can create multiple, I mean almost thousands, millions addresses on the blockchain, and all of those addresses can vote. So while voting without any consensus algorithms, we need to create a wide list of accounts that are only available to vote. So let's say we want to create voting for this whole room. So I would ask you for those 150 accounts, so I can whitelist them, and later on we can create a voting on those accounts. But the transaction of apostille just went, so we want to check if our hacker file, which is the worst, will be notarized. So the same, as easy as just dropping into the field, and we see that validation failed. So it's not our file. And last important thing that is very interesting in Nano Wallet. We all know that recently there were some hacks on parity accounts of Ethereum that were multi-signature, and that's a big problem because on Ethereum we are working like on a virtual machine, and all the code we are putting there is like the big bug bounty. So here in NEM, the multi-signature solution it's already pre-programmed on the chain, and we are just making a request to this system and creating new multi-signature accounts. It's just signing the transaction. So I will create a multi-signature account. I've got these 3 paper wallets here, and I will create a multi-signature account for those 3 paper wallets. I already sent transactions from those wallets. We've got these 3 transactions sent from those paper wallets to my wallet that will be multi-signature just in the second. So I sent those 3 transactions to have easy access to the account numbers. And let's create it. We would like to make this multi-signature account 2 out of 3. What does it mean? We've got those 3 persons that will be able to make actions on this multi-signature wallet. And this multi-signature wallet private key will be nullified. That means I will be able to give you guys a private key of this multi-signature account, and you won't be able to transfer any funds from it, because the private key will be attached to those 3 accounts. So let's create it, and 2 out of 3 means that 2 people out of those 3 people need to make a consensus. I mean, they need to agree on making some transactions from this multi-signature wallet to make it happen. So I will create it. So I'm converting this account to multi-signature. Please don't copy the private key. And I need to add 3 more signers. So the first one. The second one. And the third one, and minimum signatures will be 2 because it's 2 out of those 3 accounts, and I am creating it. So from this moment, I will wait a little bit because it needs to be included on the blockchain, but I can show you the private key of this account because it has no longer ability to make transaction. You need those 2 of those wallets to create the transaction on it. Why is it so good? Because first of all, it's easy to create 2-factor authentication on your funds because you can create a multi-signature wallet for your main account. If you've got a lot of funds, you can keep it on the multi-signature account, and you can have the same like I am. One account, desktop account on the laptop that can sign the transaction. One account on my mobile phone that can send the transaction, and the backup wallet in terms of paper wallet or other means that can. If one of those mediums, like my phone on laptop, will be corrupted, I will change the account for the paper wallet. I will restore my account, transfer funds to another multi-signature account, and I will be safe one more time. Also, if you've got a company, if you are running ICO or something like that, you can create a multi-signature account for all your company and add the shares for this account to different people. The company CEO can have like 10 accounts, and normal person can have like 1 account. So the CEO will be higher than those persons will, or something like that. You can make a lot of combination of these accounts. So I would like to present you those 3 wallets. Are there on this room some person that didn't have those paper wallets already? Okay, first one. Okay, second one. And third one. Okay, okay. So you guys have. You can contact yourself and transfer out those 50 ZEMs from this account if you want, because you've got the power now. And of course we've got the voting, but let's say it's pretty easy to do, so I won't present it. And why is it so nice? Because in NEM we don't have the virtual machine like in, let's say, Ethereum, but we've got the API calls to those functions like multi-signature, like apostille, like tokens, like creating namespace, subnamespace. We can just make those calls to the blockchain, and it will give us the results. So it's much more safe. And as we can see here, it's 2-layer. So we've got the blockchain and API gateway. And we are moving to the second generation of NEM platform. The current one is built on Java. The second version will be built on C++. And this is like the sneak peek of this another version, because currently every transaction we are making in all cryptocurrencies are the push transactions. Here we will be able to create the pull transactions, and it's very similar to this multi-signature account. Let's say I want to ask Przemek to send me 100 ZEM. So it will be as easy as creating this kind of transaction, asking him to transfer me 100 ZEM, and his only action will be like say yes or no in his wallet. So it will be like pull transaction. So I want money from him, and it will be very useful for building something similar to smart contracts on Ethereum, because with those pull requests, we will be able to merge multiple transactions from multiple, as we can see, those addresses from and to are differ. So we will be able to create those transactions in the one big transaction, and every one of those transactions must be fulfilled to make it work. So it will be like smart contracts on NEM, and that's all I wanted to say. And thank you for being here. And I think Sonia, we can move to the other part of our presentation.
Yes, thank you so much. So now there's going to be a discussion panel with Lon and Enrique. Enrique and Lon, please come to the stage. So we've got very interesting question. The first one would be the difference between distributed ledger technology and blockchains. What is it? And what are your opinions about that?
So this is a personal opinion, right? I think that the general consensus regarding what a blockchain is starts from saying it is a public blockchain that has censorship resistant. So that is due to the properties of the consensus algorithms that it has behind. So I think that is what makes really a blockchain. Anything that is not having this censorship resistant property, to me, is not a public blockchain. So that's my opinion. So when we talk about blockchains, I prefer to talk about open blockchains or public blockchains, and if we talk about anything else, I would call it normally distributed ledger technology, private distributed ledger technology, private DLT, something like that. That's my opinion.
Okay, yeah. Basically, the original concept of the blockchain technology was based on peer-to-peer network as well as cryptography. So, and that's the original definition of the blockchain technology. In as far as distributed ledger technology is that you may not necessarily need to use the cryptography that is being deployed or designed for the blockchain technology. So a distributed ledger technology could include some other methods and other means of securing data, which may or may not be as secure as what the blockchain can give. So the P2P network in a distributed ledger technology is where you could actually deploy, but it may or may not have the security measures of a blockchain technology that was originally designed for the Bitcoin. So that's the fundamental difference. So increasingly, you have more and more projects like Hyperledger is a distributed ledger technology, and so is Ripple, and so is a few more, but these are the more popular ones. The rest, many of them are basically blockchain technology.
Okay. And another question is, what is the difference between public blockchains and private blockchains?
Okay. Hello. Yeah. The fundamental difference between the public blockchain and private blockchain is that the public blockchain is exposed to any participant, which means all of us are free to participate in it. But in a private blockchain, it is normally and usually operated by a corporation. For example, a bank or a company that does logistics and that does things like control in a controlled environment where they actually want their transactions to be managed and controlled by them. So that's the fundamental difference between a public network and a private network. And private network is usually is a permission network. So you may want to add anything?
No, I think we go back to the same. So I think that we should apply this to two different needs. So what is the problem you're trying to solve with a public blockchain? You try to solve the problem of the untrusted agents that want to transact with each other, and they don't necessarily can rely on each other without having to have any other agent in the middle. So that's really the problem that it is being solved by a public blockchain. A private blockchain will then always have an agent or a number of agents or even a consortium of agents that kind of facilitate the trust between or facilitate the transaction between two parties or several parties, but it is not the same kind of problem as you can see. So whenever there is an intermediary, you can find it that is someone you can trust, like a bank, for example, that you can always trust. Then you can always build private blockchains on top of that, or semi-public private blockchain or consortium-based blockchain, so which is all that a different problem to me that is being solved as for the public ones.
Okay, so I've got the question about NEM, because NEM also have this option to create private blockchains called Mijin. And how are they operating? Are they somewhat connected to the main blockchain? Are they side chains, or is it completely different blockchain? And is it like side chain or completely new blockchain?
Yeah. Before I answer this question, a lot of people in the crypto industry have always asked and questioned why we need to have a private blockchain. And the very premise in which the blockchain was designed is for a trustless environment, and a private blockchain is a trustful environment where you need to trust the owners of the owners of the private blockchain. But this is the answer that we have. The private blockchain, basically what it does is it actually reduces the cost of operation of an otherwise trustful network of solution. So this is where the fundamental difference is, okay? So now to answer the question of whether, of the fact that whether it is a side chain, whatever chain that we have in NEM, basically our versions of the private and the public blockchain is that the private blockchain works at a very much faster rate of transaction. And the rate of transaction currently, with the new version that was shown just now, is about 4,000 transactions per second, and is scaling upwards of it. And the block times also reduce. It is 30 seconds, and therefore, fundamentally, that's where it is, in the sense that it is fast, It is inexpensive, it has faster blockchain, it is mutually exclusive of the public chain, but we could actually dovetail the two together and work hand in hand with each other. And that's where the beauty of the technology is.
Okay, and I have a question to Enrique actually, because I know his opinion about application of blockchain technology in banks, because as you can see currently, all the banks want to use blockchain technology, and there is this hype. What's your opinion about that?
Okay, I've old enough to be able to make similarities and comparisons with things that have happened in the past, right? So when internet came, banks and other corporates started building their own intranets. The internet world came after internet. There was no such an intranet before internet, because when people started building intranets was to be able to get their own website internally and have their own web pages to be able to do announcements internally in the corporates. In the beginning of the intranet, it was always using a simple HTTP protocol with no TLS or no SSL2, that was in the beginning, so with no security. That was something that was accepted within a company, in a corporate environment, because it was a trusted environment. So where do we say, come on, we can use this. We don't need to put this level of complexity using these fancy protocols, because they are so complicated, and it is so much easier if we just get this HTTP, because this is a secure environment. This is an intranet. We have these firewalls. We have these Chinese walls. We have all these walls, and nobody's gonna do anything wrong to us. And then people started developing applications within the banks, for example, to be able to, for example, let's make a transaction and a transfer from a client account to a client account, and someone in the IT department built a very nice interface on HTML, and then people could very easily, inside the intranet, then in a very trusted environment, be able to do transfers between them, until someone started cracking into the network, hacking the network, and then at some point they realized it is not so safe. You cannot just think that your network is safe because it's a trusted environment. So I think that the assumption that you are in a trusted environment is a false assumption. It's a very naive to think that anybody is in a trusted environment. Cybersecurity is a big deal these days. So you have to know what is the stake that you have and you put at risk when you use a technology. Obviously, and I shared that with Lon, today, so the reason banks could come to the internet era and start doing very nice applications because they gained the experience through very basic technology like HTTP, and then they could progress on that and then evolve to new things. And in the beginning, okay, they could do things that were harmless, not very dangerous and on that technology, and then they started realizing that for other things they would need another level of security. What I appreciate of this private versus public blockchain, I would compare a private blockchain to what it is a simple protocol, something that works fast, you can configure it easily. You have seen how amazing it is. This is something you can, I will show to my kids because really I love it. So you can do so many things with that. And I will tell them not to play with real money really with this, but otherwise it's a very nice thing. And if I have to talk to a bank and say, for some things, use something private, it's okay. But then go to a public blockchain when you need really to make sure that you have a secure environment. You can always, and this is happening more and more, this duality of side chains, let's say private chains or not even chains, just a peer-to-peer, point-to-point, one-to-one conversation that at some point is confirmed with kind of a public blockchain that we know is secure. So I think this is kind of a benefit I can see in the private blockchains. That's my opinion again. Sorry, I was a bit long.
Okay, so I have a question because you are talking a lot about public blockchains, and their main fault is their scalability, because they are, if the blockchain can make like 100 transactions per second, it's like very good number. But in the Visa system and in all the banking, 100 transactions per second is like pretty normal. So those public blockchains are are still behind the technology of the banks. Is there any, do you think, you or Lon, any solution to make it better, to make the scalability better? I know there are ways to like side chains or something like that. What do you think about that?
Well, you're referring to public chain?
Yes. As the scalability is so low in regards to banks.
Well, one of the greatest challenge about peer-to-peer network is it is physics, right? It is physics because in a peer-to-peer network, you need to be able to communicate with one another, and is a consensus design, a solution where the entire network needs to reach a consensus, and this propagation or broadcast of a transaction is difficult to achieve what we really want in respect of the number of transactions per second. So this is where there is a fundamental problem, irrespective of whichever irrespective of whichever project that you're working on, be they Bitcoin, Ethereum, even NEM. We all have this same problem, and that's why we have what we call the Lightning Network that came about to increase the number of transactions per second. But the Lightning Network works outside the blockchain solution, and I'm not sure if this could be considered a blockchain technology, because we are now morphing the blockchain technology to include another layer of transaction management, where the transactions can now go at lightning speed. So this is where we are heading to in respect of trying to solve the issue of a slow transaction per second. So, and I am not sure, I mean, I wouldn't say it's going to work for sure, or it may not work or may work. So, but the very concept of the Lightning design is such that it is adaptable and can be used for a network even like NEM. So we could actually include that as another module that sits on another layer that sits on top of the NEM blockchain technology to address the issue of transactions per second. Yep.
Yeah, that's again the same. Is this around the same point? I think Lon, that's exactly what it has to be seen. So I still, let's think Bitcoin is something like a bulldozer, and then maybe NEM is like a Ferrari in terms of speed, but they try to solve completely different problems, right? So and this is what it is. When I think that what we start. I see a lot of polarization on things here, like saying, now we have, the Bitcoiners, the Ethereum guys, then with the private blockchains, we have this and that. And I think that in the end, things like Lightning Network or these side chain technologies, they will allow to interoperate blockchains. And I think that's a very, very important thing. We have to start looking, for what's going to happen. There is room for lots of technologies, and we will have to have many technologies to investigate what we really want to do, how we want to use them. The interoperability between the blockchains, is this problem has been solved by, fundamentally, or it's being solved for some of the blockchains with Lightning Network. You would say it's not blockchain technology, it is actually using a script, so it uses the language, smart contract language of Bitcoin, so to say. It's actually transactions that go on the Lightning Network. So transactions that with the signature using a well-known transaction, signature formula, and that is what makes them compatible. So basically now with Lightning Network, you could get any two altcoins talking to each other. I could send you money from my Litecoin wallet to your Bitcoin wallet, and then there would be someone in the middle in the network that will make the guideway between both, and that's awesome. So what I think of the good thing of things like NEM, or those things that from the beginning they are built to be modular, is that I realized, and I was just speaking to Lon, Actually, it was very difficult to disagree with him in many things. So we said we're going to have a very boring discussion, really. But one of the things that I realized is that this possibility to have modules on top of it, that you could even have a module that allows you to connect with Lightning Network. So can you see how cool it is that you could just actually sign that transaction between you and this multi-signature address and send me those 50 cents on my Bitcoin wallet directly from your NEM Nano wallet. So that is the kind of things that this something like Lightning Network will enable and actually will give value to everybody.
Okay, given all that, do you believe in mass adoption of blockchain technology in the future, and what are the plans for the future with NEM?
Okay, I think we have come to a point where there's no return. This is my personal opinion, in the sense that the crypto industry or the crypto technology or the cryptocurrency technology or industry is moving forward, is moving so fast that mass adoption will one day descend upon all of us. And one of the things that NEM is actually working on in our second generation is what Bartosz, right? I always have a problem trying to pronounce Polish names.
No,
Bartosz.
Bartłomiej.
Bartłomiej. Okay, is in his last. Yeah, okay. Bartłomiej. Enrique likes to give a Spanish name to everyone. He calls me Manuel. Now we are giving him a Bartolomeo. So anyway, the thing is, in his last slide, it is actually a slide that is very complicated and yet can be made very simple. Imagine this. Today, if you were to transact, say, the NEM coin, which we call it ZEM, right? And if you were to instead transact the Wicked coin, was it Wicked or Worst coin? Was it Worst coin? And you need to pay a fee for it. And because you need to pay a fee for it, you need to have some ZEM with you, XEM, before you can actually make a transaction. Now, imagine this case where Enrique has no ZEM. How is he going to receive and transmit a Wicked coin, for example? And let's change the word Wicked coin to USD. So I'm going to send him USD, but he hasn't got any ZEM. So how is he going to send it to Pedro? That's his name, Pedro 2. So how is he going to send it to Pedro 2? Pedrito. If he hasn't got ZEM, and there's no, and he is the man on the street. So what can he do? And this is where we will transgress and go beyond. What NEM has done is that, say, Bartolomeo is the operator of a bank, and he is the one that's issuing all this USD to all of us. And because he's the operator, he will have all the ZEM, XEM. And when I transfer money to Enrique, the ZEM is automatically pushed from him without me knowing that he is paying the fees for my transaction to Enrique, and so on. So, as far as he's concerned, as far as I'm concerned, we just download a wallet from Android, Google Play or iOS, and we receive and send money without knowing that there is a back-end engine, a blockchain that requires transaction fees that is being managed by the bank. And that's where, apart from KYC, apart from everything else, even you don't need it to be a dollar token, it could be any token, okay? A loyalty point, for example, you know, he may be operating a loyalty point program. I don't need to worry about transaction fees because he's going to manage my transaction fees, and we are all sending to each other transparently. And that's where the entire adoption of the cryptocurrency will move on to the next stage. And it could easily move the entire world with that sort of transactions where we don't need any more transaction fees.
Enrique, do you want to say something, or can I have another question?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Emmanuel, sorry. Tell me something. So I have, I was reading about NEM these last days to, get to know it a little bit, and then I have seen it has an MIT license. It's released on the MIT license. Okay, I was looking at the GitHub code and a little bit, and I saw that there was not like a lot of activity. You told me yesterday, no, because this is already so, so completed that I don't really need to do much more, right? But we know that there are always security holes and then, things bugs that we need to fix. I would like to get an idea of how much of development is being done currently to fix problems, and what is the kind of volume of requests that you have to implement new functionality or to fix current issues. Because I couldn't hardly believe last push request that was accepted or last commit was done like 6 months ago. And for something that looks so complete, it looks like many people must be requesting changes and fixing things. So,
I don't want to be modest here. I'm going to brag about NEM. NEM is designed so well that you don't need new features other than the second iterations that we're doing. So, what really happened is that why is the GitHub so inactive? The reason is there wasn't many bugs. So for so long, for the last year or 2 years or 3 years that we're in existence, we had hardly any bugs. And because we had hardly any bugs, there was no need to change. And because we were so ahead of the curve with our design, and this is where bragging is, right? That we really never needed to add in a lot more new features. And what is happening now with our second release, which is the Catapult, we are now changing and putting in a lot of things, and unfortunately, it is not shown to the public what we have been doing behind the scene. Now, the NEM first version was designed and launched in 15 months. This solution was designed and developed in Java. The developers of this solution were actually C++ programmers. They knew nothing much about Java when they started, and they finished it in 14 months. The second iteration, which they have decided to actually design it with C++, they've gone back to their old skills, right? Started in February of 2016. Today, it is 17 months later, and we have not even launched it. These guys are working based on the experience of having developed the first version, and the fact that they are doing it with their actual original skills where they're good at. And now that it's taking 17 months, about 17 months, which we haven't launched yet, it goes on to show that it's going to be a completely different and completely enhanced, augmented solution that we are going to launch in the coming months. And that's the reason why the GitHub is, hardly any change, any movement. It's not that we have given up. It's not, we still have little bugs, sometimes display problem caused by poor API, coming out. Not that the blockchain is not working, it is the API that is not giving you the right results, but the blockchain is still working. So those are the little bugs that we fix along the way and improve a little bit. Sometimes we change the transaction fee because, as you probably realize, NEM is the best performing, almost in the top 10, we are the best performing crypto. We have since launch 2 years ago, increased the value. Our value has increased 2,625 times, which means if you had $1,000 invested in ZEM, you would be worth $2.6 million today. And we are the fastest and best performing crypto in the top 10. So
So what's the market cap right now? Because I was checking a few days ago and it was like $2 billion, $2.5 billion dollars.
Yeah, 2.5. The highest it went to was about 3 billion. You know, it's been fluctuating together with what you know, Bitcoin is, but in a lesser amplitude. You know, we have a much smaller amplitude compared to many of the other cryptos in the industry. So because we're very stable, we don't dump, we don't pump. No, I'm not going to talk about this because we are not here to talk about the value of my coin. So yeah.
Yeah, I have another question about like the development of the technology and support for developers. Because I know that you do support developers. So what is it that you're currently doing to support developers?
NEM is the only project in the crypto industry where we will have our blockchain center. We are the first blockchain solution project that has our own blockchain center, and this blockchain center is located in Malaysia, where I'm in, and what the charter of NEM Foundation, of which I'm the president, is to actually promote the technology to the industries, the governments, and the academias of the world. And what it means is that we would like to, academics as well as developers of the world. And what we would really like to do here is to promote that and encourage developers to come on board our platform and work on it. And they will be pretty surprised with how easy it is to actually get on board and develop this solution within hours, and I mean hours. So this is where NEM was designed for. It was designed to be simple. We don't want to make it hard, and we want to make it practical so that we can actually make use of it as a mainstream solution for, as a blockchain for the mainstream solution. So this is basically making your business work rather than making the rocket fly to the moon. So because, you know, in the blockchain space, most of us are 30 years old and below, and they're highly ideal. They like to have challenges, that's a given. But the fact of the matter is that you do not design a solution, you do not let a business fit a solution. You let a solution fit a business. And that's what we are. We, NEM, has developed a solution that fits a business instead of the other way around. So in terms of encouraging and how developers could do, and we have been very much, we started off very poor. We only had 100,000. We didn't have a true ICO. So we didn't have money, but we built ourselves to a $2 billion capitalization project. And therefore we have now substantial money that we would want to develop that and use that to develop a big, huge community. And we have started in Asia, and now we're coming to Europe, where we would like to set up satellite centers, maybe 200 square meters or 100 square meters sort of space, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 programmers and promoters, right? And in many parts of Europe, so that we can actually bring this technology to Europe.
Sorry, if I might, I want to ask you a question. So what's your revenue model for NEM? So this all will require a lot of, it requires a lot of investment in time, in marketing, in training. Obviously, if you want to go mainstream, you want this to be the mainstream solution. The easy off the shelf solution, like we can see, can be for many people to start getting into this change, which is moving into a distributed ledger kind of technology. So what's the revenue model that will enable you to get there in the first phase, where we are not going to have massive adoption until you get to be you reach mainstream?
Very good question. We are very rich. Okay, you see, the entire NEM solution or NEM project was developed and designed not just based on technology, but it's also based on a firm marketing plan and future proofing. So what happened actually is that although we have, we were poor, $100,000, that's all we had. We developed this project with putting aside a big stash of ZEM aside for the future. And because of that, we are now self-funding. We have lots of money. We are actually putting in a lot of money in marketing. And I've just announced that in July this year, we're going to put $40 million in marketing and expansion for the next year, which is July next year. So it's already September. We've got 9 more months, but we hardly spend any money. Call you. And on top of that, we put aside $5 million to fund or to fund startups and develop them into world-class solution providers based on the NEM technology. And that's the most important, because in any venture capital business, people give you money, but you don't have smart money. Smart money is where my network will be able to sell your solution into the world. And NEM has a huge network today, right? Everywhere you go, we will have, I've got many friends today. I've got like 20,000 friends around the world, and that's the beauty of the new age so-called craze. Well, .com was one craze, right? So this is the next one. And because of this, somewhere in Timbuktu, somebody will say, hey, Lon, I need to do something for document notarization. Have you got a solution for it? And then Pedro has it, in Warsaw, right? And he is one of those guys that have been invested by NEM, who is a startup, who's trying to make a living, right? And he's going to sell that solution to the guy in Timbuktu. So this is the beauty of how NEM will leverage the network that it has to promote its technology across the nations. And this is all not done by accident. This was all planned. And that's the reason why I'm very sure many of you may not have heard about NEM until today. The reason is we only had $100,000 to spend. Just this year, we started to go around the world. And in fact, I've been in Europe now for the 12 days already, right? And my colleague, which is the vice president, Jeff, his name, he's en route to Moscow. So we are all over the place. And you will see a lot of us in Europe, especially because Europe is our next focal point other than East Asia. We have been in Japan, from Japan to Southeast Asia. We've always been there. We've been selling there. People know about us. China knows about us. But Europe will be the place for the next 12 months.
So,
Do you have a question for me?
well, I wanted to ask you, Lon, how we could join NEM community, because I can see that Enrique is keen. So I believe other people are keen as well.
So when are you going to join us? That's the $40 million question. Yeah, that's Jeff, the vice president. He's en route to Moscow.
So we go straight away to Malaysia after this, or
yeah, we could. Hot sunshine. Yeah.
Okay, Lon. So I've got a question both for you and later to Enrique. Because you said you want to build here in Europe, but here in Europe the main blockchain for developers is currently Ethereum. And I know you are working like 6 months for Ethereum and you just switch after this time to NEM. And you've got some insights. What do you think about what's the comparison NEM to Ethereum? And the second part of this question later for Enrique, how do you see those two blockchains? Do you think they are competing with each other, or or do you see any future possibilities of those blockchains, which you think is better?
Yeah, I have this to say. Basically, Ethereum is a world computer, and it's pretty much a concept which the world, well, which the developers of Ethereum wish the world to adopt. I've this much I can say about Ethereum. But in as far as why I joined NEM, this is more interesting, because the reason why I joined NEM 6 months later, and in fact when I joined NEM, I wasn't one of the founders. I'm now one of the core guys in NEM. But before they accepted me as the a core member of the team, there was something that they like about me and I like about them, is the fact that NEM, as I said earlier, is a project that's used or designed for the business, to fit into the business. And that's where the fundamental difference is. It's a technology that's used to power businesses rather than businesses powering the technology. So, and that is all in a nutshell. That's what it is, basically. So that's how I feel with respect to how NEM will be able to fit the industry in the years to come.
So the question was, what do I think what do I think of Ethereum and Bitcoin, and how they can survive together, or
Ethereum and NEM, because
Ethereum and NEM. Okay. Well, you know, you have Ethereum, you have the enterprise Ethereum, whatever. You have you will have forks. You have already lots of people doing private Ethereum networks. I think so. Ethereum has a role to play. It's an amazing technology. I think it is still young as a technology. I think that you have to be careful what you can do with it. But I think that the fact that NEM is not based on Ethereum as such a completely different model, I think that this is what might make them like complementary in terms of, you know, what is what the business wants. The business will see what it can do with Ethereum, or what we can do with NEM, and we'll come up with a new need. And then, so let's see who can then fulfill that need faster, whether Bitcoin Cash, or Ethereum, or NEM. And I think that is the interesting part.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you, what I wanted to ask. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask whether you found any points of disagreement at all, because you met yesterday already. You had a chance to chat, but is there anything at all that you disagree on?
No, I think that we don't disagree. I think that Lon Wong knows quite well what is a public blockchain and what is a distributed ledger private one. So I think that's very clear. He has explained that. We might disagree on some of the points on how economy is going to evolve in the near future. I'm far more pessimistic in some areas than him, but they are like these kind of very fundamental, difficult things, to almost philosophical disagreements on things. But otherwise, I think that, which is nice to see, that in the end, you know, you see that there is room for many things. Sometimes we are too focused on looking at the technology that we like, you know, I'm kind of Bitcoin and maximalist, so it's like everything is Bitcoin, and other things like, oh, you know, I don't bother to look at this, at that. But then in the end, you know, it puts you in a different state of mind. I've been working in banks for 12 years, last 12 years, and before another 5 years. And then what you realize is that it is not easy to change them with ideals. So you have to change them with things that just work. And I think that what a private blockchain gives is already transparency, it is already efficiency, and it is already something that to me is very important, that is directional change. It might not go to a public blockchain from one day to another, but it will already align people into a mindset in which they talk about multisig, they talk about mining, they talk about addresses, they talk about, and I think this is what will help this cultural shift from people from the legacy, monolithic application space to something that is more open and more in the direction of what we want to do with a distributed economy.
Okay, so I've got a question to you, Enrique, because as you said, you worked in the bank for few years or even more, and the question is about adoption of private blockchains in the banking industry, because what's the problem currently? Is the problem, because we all know the blockchain will solve the problems like intermediaries, there won't be need for the clearing houses or other institutions like intermediaries. But what's the problem with adoption? Because we all know if there will be enough need, technology will come and fill the gap. So what's the problem? Is it the legal one, or is it technology still behind the current technology? What's the problem?
Okay, so start from the basis that, as I said in the beginning, when making a bit the parallel between the internet technology and what we have now with blockchain technology. Banks are 10 years behind. Okay, overall, it could have been stupid if a bank in the late 90s or in the 2000 something says we are going to do a wallet that is going to allow our clients to operate over the internet, right? They would like crazy, right? But the internet was there, right? They wouldn't even think of doing that. What I see now on the blockchain is that banks want to do or talk about things like are very, very big. So saying replacing clearing houses or having distributed or pseudo-distributed exchanges among their customer base, or facilitating things that it is a lot of wishful thinking. I think there's a lot of bullshitting as well in there. I don't think that they really believe anything of what they say they want to do. But on the other side, I know that there are so many things that they can do now. They could do very much more simple, using simple technology that will free up so many resources, so they can look for the next thing they have to do. It is the same as when in the 90s they were building the intranet, and they were building, the homepage for the branch in, for example, in Spain. Then okay, there was the big bank, they had branches, and then they could have like an intranet where people could get to know the other colleagues there and could then see who was working in another country. And this kind of thing that was not really fulfilling a business need in terms of a customer need, but allow them to explore the technology that will enable them to operate safely in an internet environment and then provide that technology. I think that is what we have to start seeing. I think there is a lot of money that banks, okay, the first challenge we do have in banking industry today is cost. So today is huge. The cost of compliance, the cost of regulation, so it is huge. And probably the one that is going to be very, very big in very, very, very soon is going to be security. So cybercrime is a massive, massive thing. So banks will have to turn to complete different technologies, probably very disruptive technologies with like blockchain, and they cannot just jump onto the latest, greatest and start doing smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain to do things. No, don't dream of that. They have to start with, let's just start with the small things, like kind of a Lego thing, like big cubes. There is the Lego, the Duplo, the one with the big blocks, right? For kids that start playing. So this is at the level that banks have to start with the blockchain. With these simple solutions, something that they can be carried by the hand while they discover it and they start thinking of the next big thing that they can do with it.
Okay, we've discussed about like expansion in Asia and in Europe, and these are very developed areas. And what about places like Africa? What about financial inclusion? Are you even planning to use NEM for that? Or what do you think, Enrique, as well, what do you think about that?
Oof, I didn't come here as a business person, so and I don't work yet for NEM, so it's difficult
but in general, like
in general, I think, okay, obviously
how could that solve?
On my personal experience, when I try to explain blockchain or what Bitcoin is to people in Switzerland, people say, what's your problem, right? Oh, this all works very well. Say, yeah, here works very well, but in Venezuela, it doesn't work that well. Yes, yeah, but those are Venezuelans, so that's not my problem. So we have to be realistic. People, don't have the problem. So Bitcoin is solving a problem that people don't see. People don't see in Switzerland. I tell you, people see it in other places. People see it in Ukraine, people see it in India, people see it in Mexico, people see it in many places. So we are just at the beginning of discovering the kind of problems that the technology can solve. Okay, so then from that, you're talking about Africa. I'm not a connoisseur of Africa. I don't know what is going on there. Really, I'm much more closer to South America, or even to India or other places, and I see how the adoption there is much bigger than what it is in obviously in Europe, because they see the real need. They have really the problem for which this is a solution. And what I can see as well is that the people in the communities there, they try to get the help from outside, which is much easier to do than before, because we have open software, because these solutions are already there. People can study them, can adopt them, and can easily start using them. And I think that's something that will enable a radical transformation of many economies, and those emerging economies that we have that have been probably not very capable of being able to be included financially in the rest of the system, probably will have a chance to be exposed to the rest of the other parallel system that will be more the crypto finance space, and that definitely will give them a room to develop. I'm very positive about it, and I think that's one of the main reasons I got involved in blockchain technology and Bitcoin as a mean to develop economies.
Yeah, I think the going to places like South America or even Africa, it is all about regulatory uncertainty, and the uncertainty is that there are two things to it. One is the lack of knowledge of blockchain technology, and then the second thing is the regulators may change their mind overnight. And that's where if you pour in thousands or millions of dollars into it and then suddenly they say, no, this is not going to happen, please, we're going to change the regulation, and then the business goes bust. So this is what we call regulatory uncertainty. And that's why coming to places like Europe is more certain, although it's very rigid as well as in the USA. But you know that the goalpost is not going to change. And that's very important for any business. So it's about putting money in places where there's more certainty. So in as far as promoting Bitcoin or any other crypto coin for that matter, you don't need to have you don't need to go to Africa. They are probably doing it. We are not aware, but they're probably transferring money to each other in any cryptocurrencies, and that will happen. That has its own life. So what we are talking here is the things where the blockchain is being used for the economies, for the businesses that is around the whole world. So this is more why more people are concentrating their efforts in developed nations, more so than underdeveloped or undeveloped nations.
I have another question. Like, what is the regulators' approach to blockchain technology in Asia? Because we are more aware about like regulations and all this, burden in Europe, but we don't hear as much about Asia. Well, apart from China recently.
Okay. The problem, the biggest challenge the blockchain industry has is that knowing a little bit about blockchain and its technology is very dangerous. It is dangerous because someone may think that he or she understands blockchain, but unfortunately he or she is only understanding a little bit of it, and that's where wrong advice get out. So that's one danger. The second problem with Asia is that in terms of adoption and in terms of understanding the technology is where they are slower than the developed countries. And it's all to do with exposure. It's all to do with what we call less communication between the developed world and the developing world. And that's where things come in slower to Asia. But that doesn't mean that they are going to be slower than the developed nations. Because if you look at the communication industry, the fiber technology versus copper technology, when China decided to connect the entire nation, it was all in fiber. And that's where, when they will leap way ahead of the first world. And that's where the difference is compared to the USA, for example, because they are still in copper for most part of the dot-com rise. In 1999, when I went to China, when there was not much restriction, the internet was like real broadband, you know, that you have never seen before. You know, those days it was 9.6, right? Or 19.2. Some of you were not born, but I'm telling you from history, it was very slow. To download a 10 megabyte file takes 20 coffee times. You know, it probably take 3 hours, 4 hours, or half the night. That was how slow it was in the 90s. But in China, it was so fast. I've never seen it before. Then, right? It was an eye-opener. It was a shock for me. And that was real broadband that you see today. The reason was because they they had no copper, they went straight to fiber. So blockchain in developing nations will and may and most probably be another leapfrog for them, and they may be way ahead of the developed nations. That's how I see it to be. They may be slow today, but it will come, it will happen.
Okay, so I would like to ask you a question, Lon. What would you wish yourself in the future? How your blockchain, like the NEM, how would it look like to be mass adopted all over the world? Do you have like the vision for it? What checkpoints should be made, or something like that, or are you just going with the flow and watching for other cryptocurrencies? What are they doing, and replying to their actions?
Actually, this is not one person or one group of people that is going to move. It needs the entire industry. For a simple reason, we're here to change the world, change the way in we do businesses, change the way in how transactions are going to happen, and we are constrained by a lot of regulatory requirements. So we are here not, we have a big issue with the way businesses are done today. So it's not easy for one project like NEM to be able to move the world, but it requires the entire industry to move the world, and it requires all the regulators of the world to accept and adopt and change with the technology that we have.
But do you believe they will cooperate?
I think, as I said earlier, very much earlier in the in this panel here, is that we have come to a point where the tipping point has been reached, and it's going to move. It's going to move, and the primary movers will be the crypto coins more so than our blockchain technology powering banks, powering the the entire financial industry. So the crypto coins will move way ahead, and along with it, it's going to pull the technology with it, and more and increasingly regulators will understand the power of the solutions, and banks, which is 10 years late, right? They will be able to adopt it, and that's when they start adopting it is when you see a change, you know, and a change in using the technology for the benefit of efficiency.
Since Enrique didn't find many disagreement points with Lon, I believe that it's his vision as well. Am I right, Enrique?
So okay, I'm less optimistic regarding whether we would have banks then in the future altogether. But definitely this is regulators, they are, they are adapting to. It's really an adaptative change what they do. So it has been always like that. They find something, they have to adapt. They cannot regulate ahead of the things that are happening. When they come to regulate, sometimes it's late to regulate because they cannot influence how things move in terms of that. I think that the fact that we are now putting the building blocks for many things, in terms of many projects, many cryptos, getting the knowledge, getting people understanding what can be done, will have an impact on the industry only in several years. So I don't think this is going to change. In the meantime, there will be opportunities, very niche opportunities to help those players that really are aware or they are intelligent, smart enough to see what are the possibilities of this technology to be able to reduce the cost and then survive a bit longer. But and I think that will maybe is what will happen. I don't think the regulator is not going to regulate something like private blockchain technology. This is like and that's the reason that banks are going to use it. So that's it. That's the way I see it.
Okay, well, I believe we've covered pretty much everything. And if there's anything to add, please do so. And as a last question, I would like to ask you maybe to tell to people what they could do to get involved in the blockchain space, because I believe that we've got some experts here, right? But I believe that there are also people who are pretty new to the space, and I very often I get questions. Yes. How can we get involved? What can we do? How can we learn about things? Mm-hmm. So what is your advice?
Okay, I go first. How many of you have a Bitcoin wallet on your mobile phone? Okay, something like maybe 30%, which is quite good. So the other that don't have a Bitcoin wallet, please come to me after this, and then we will install it. I will give you some Bitcoins. You will be some Bitcoins, no, but And then I will as well encourage you to help each other to install it and then get to know it, because the underlying blockchain, the blockchain was invented by basically Bitcoin, and this is the amazing part about blockchain technology. Is something that is something subtle, so it's not something you will see obviously. Then by playing with the Bitcoin and with the Bitcoin wallet, you might be able to better understand what is all this about. Then you will probably understand better what is the limitations of something like a private blockchain solution, and what are the benefits as well of that one. So you will see how cumbersome some things are on a Bitcoin wallet, and you will see how easy other things are in respect to something like, for example, what we have seen today. That's what I would want to ask everybody, and to help everybody to get involved in and understand better the technology.
Okay, so about Bitcoin wallets, we distributed 50 ZEM paper wallets with some ZEM inside. So first 50 people also got their paper wallets with ZEM, and they can experiment on that.
Yeah, no, okay. So we finished the discussion panel, official part, and now let's take some questions from Ahmed.
Thank you very much for the panel. I think it's a little bit of a very specific question, but I was a little bit, I was interested in this Bankera, and I just know that you also have some advisory board in that ICO, and I was just wondering if you can just give us a little bit of more information, because it's really close to like a traditional banking system in a way, and I was just trying to know if you can try to say what your opinion is, or how this is going to somehow use the NEM technology in order to basically deliver their product.
Well, the Bankera thing is they don't have a full banking license, but the group under which Bankera operate has a remittance license. They have IBAN accounts as well, and what they actually did and how I came about is they wanted to manage a crypto coin that was going to be used for their ICO, and they were going to use ERC20, and then they said they could perhaps look into using the NEM, because I told them it takes only 2 minutes to actually develop an ERC20, you know, a mosaic. We call it a mosaic, a smart asset. So it was 2 minutes that we did. And the integration into their system was like, you know, like a breeze. And my position in there is hopefully that we will progress to using the blockchain technology for the banking system, which they have not today formulate or design the solution yet. So this is where it is the first step. They have actually got me in to help them to design and to actually keep moving on to the next stage. So it is an evolving thing, but they don't have a full banking license today, but within their network, they do have something going on quite seriously. Yeah.
Do we have more questions?
Hello. What is the, let's say, what are the advantages against, let's say, Open Ledger and BitShares, NEM against, let's say, Open Ledger and Bosic Foundation?
I'll give you a very frank answer. I'm very, very focused. And I heard of Open Ledger, but I do not know what they do. So I can't really compare that. If you can tell me, if you can actually tell me what Open Ledger does, and perhaps maybe I can actually.
I think maybe that might be too many features. But let's say you say that this NEM Zen fits perfectly the business. Is it so flawless, or some, let's say, clients or users of NEM complain about something? Because you are now developing the second version. Is it because there was a lot of complaints about some solutions, or do you want just to fit the, let's say, competition solutions?
Okay.
Which are on the market right now?
Well, okay, that I can answer. No, number one, the second iteration of our first design is actually an improvement of what we have, which, for example, we are talking about speed of transaction for the private network. The number of transactions per second, not the speed. The speed is always the internet speed, right? So the number of transactions per second, and the way that we are now looking at what we call pool transactions versus push transactions that is being deployed now in the industry. For example, what's the meaning of pull and push is that I can send you money. That's what, crypto today, right? But I cannot pull from you. So if you look at a subscription model where the utility sends you a bill and try and pull money from you, and if you sign it because you are so busy, you can't make a transaction because you're so busy, you're always on the run. So the utility company will just pull a transaction. If you agree, you just sign it off. And that's called pooling. So pooling and pushing is one very strong transaction means and way of doing business. And that's where our second iteration allow not just two parties pooling and pushing from each other. It is a multi-transaction, multi-signatory, and multi-players. And that is where it becomes a solution where creativity will make it happen even more in terms of the utility of it. So this is what are the things, these are some of the things where the second iteration is about.
Any more questions?
May I say something?
Yes.
I will have 34 people watching us on Facebook now, which is great. So the one that gives me more hearts, they will get $1 in Bitcoins. I will send them to them.
Okay, I would refer.
I'll up it 10 zem, $2.
Oh God, this is okay. $3. Okay,
I mean,
we finance them together. Okay, let's say one each. Okay, great. Okay, that's it. So go there and start now liking. Okay.
Okay, if I could refer back to the question from the colleague before, what are the actual advantages of blockchain-based bank? I know brokerage house. If I'm a CEO of a brokerage house or a bank, why should I even consider switching to blockchain? Where are the advantages?
So okay, my opinion of them first, you cannot. So it's not possible. It's like you are there because there is no blockchain. So the day that there is a blockchain, you don't need to be there. That's it. There might be some room in the middle to give consultancy to your banks before they get rid of you. But that is as much as I can say already.
Well, the advantage is to me, it's very simple answer. Blockchain is inexpensive, period. Basically is, the traditional solutions can actually do what blockchain can do, right? But the problem with the traditional solution is that you have to ban your bank, ban everywhere, pay heaps of money, improve the security, improve this, improve that, and that costs a lot of money, right?
Okay, so this way you refer there only the cost advantages of the implementation. There are like I know I cannot implement it in any kind of nearest future, but well, considering for the future, you don't see any, let's say, utility advantages of it.
Well, utility, I mean, basically, if I have to send money, it's the same thing. There's no advantage sending money, right, across between one party to another. So it is a method of doing business. So basically, it is cost and time and resources. These are the things where actually it all boils down to cost, because resources is cost, right? And cost is money, and money is long-term operational cost, capital cost, all sorts of costs that comes in, and including AML costs, KYC costs. Everything is about cost. So blockchain is going to reduce those costs substantially. That's what it is. So nothing is more advantageous than cost.
Any more questions?
So hello, I have a question which might be basic one or a type of question you've been asked many times before, but this is a question related to the TPS in private networks, which is really impressive and high, and I think it might be interesting for us to hear how those numbers are achieved. Is it a matter of block time or block size, or maybe using technology like state channels or something completely different? So that would be my question.
Yeah, that's a good question actually. Well, the thing is, what we have done with the second iteration is that we have, for a start, we are using a different database, which is no SQL. SQL basically is raw data dump, and that's where it increases the transaction rates, as well as separating the solution so that each component does what it does best, and therefore increase the transaction rate. Well, that's basically what it is, and fine-tuning using C++, which is much faster to actually do that. So, and on that basis, it is not about block time. Block time is, in fact, shorter, but it's about the number of transactions that you can pack into the block time. We don't have a cap. We don't have a limit of like what Bitcoin has, whatever megabyte. It is as much as you can store within a 30-second period. So that's where the number of transactions scaled to 4,000 transactions per second, plus because it's in a controlled environment compared to a public environment where, for example, if your processor is slow, in a public environment, because you're running a Raspberry Pi, the whole network has to wait for the Raspberry Pi to react before it can confirm a transaction, and that's slow. In a private network, you have high RAM, high capacity, fast disk, and that actually improve it by significantly to many hundreds of transactions per second just on that count. So improving a lot of other things around it makes the private network, a much more robust solution. That's all it is. It's not rocket science.
Okay, thanks.
There is a question from Michael in Facebook. Mike says, I have a question about future cooperators of NEM. Is there any company who is already making some investments in technology?
Of NEM?
I guess other companies invest in NEM, yeah.
Yeah, basically investing in NEM is one thing, using NEM is another thing. The thing, as I said earlier, is that we didn't have much money. We were only concentrating on developing the solution. Only this year we started with developing, going out to market and hopefully do something. Basically, like Dragonfly, the company that I was an entrepreneur. I came in as an entrepreneur, and I actually wanted to do something in the financial industry, and that was where I discovered NEM. So basically, as I said earlier, it is a regulatory requirement that I have to that I'm faced with, and it's going to be a long gestation period. And I'm willing to sit out and go through this probably 5 years, 10 years to actually get my Dragonfly flying. So this is where it's a long drawn process, but I'm willing to sit out. But in the meantime, the technology is not only used for the financial industry, the blockchain that NEM has, as what Bartłomiej, right, our friend, has said earlier, you can actually use it for notarization, KYC, document stamping, IoTs, registration and certificates and things like that. Those can be extended to even supply chain, even trade financing that is not regulated, because we are all heavy documentation that is required for trade financing and supply chain management. So these are the things that one can actually make use of the blockchain that NEM has to move forward. So these are the other parts of the businesses. So in as far as businesses investing in NEM, they are in Japan so far.
Okay, thank you in the name of Michael.
Can I have one more question? Do you have any comments regarding what's happening in China right now? I mean, banning the exchanges, banning the ICOs, and what is the attitude in the industry about it?
Well, well, this is my personal opinion anyway. My observation is that especially, and actually it is a question, and it's an answer to the earlier question that was asked by Sonia, is that why aren't we in in Africa? It's regulatory uncertainty. We don't know what can happen tomorrow, and in fact, that is indirectly pointed towards what we can expect out of China, for example. And I perhaps maybe they are worried about outflow of money. They have a lot of other things that we don't understand, and that's the reason why I cannot really answer you in that sense. But these are the things that you will expect from developing countries or even advanced countries. I mean, China is quite advanced anyways, right? So, but there are lots of things that we don't know, and these are the uncertainties in many countries other than places like Europe and America, where where the goalpost is not going to change.
Okay, but you kind of mitigated a direct answer, and I believe SEC, the stocks exchange securities in the US also mentioned that ICOs should be regulated by them. So I believe also, let's say, more civilized countries put their eye on the ICOs and exchanges?
Well, I think the ICO is very interesting. If you look at the history of ICO, it first started off with, for example, Ethereum, where they actually had they raised money through issuing a coin, and they raised money through Bitcoin, which is the first currency sort of thing. And by giving out those ethers, those coins, right, there were no promises of any rewards, any commission, or any ownership of Ethereum. So that was clear. That was easy and clear. But subsequently, as we morph and as we grow towards what we are today, is ICOs today do not issue any more coins for a coin project, but more so for a business. For example, if I'm going to sell fish, for example, right, and I'm going to issue a coin for seafood, let's say, and my promise to you as a investor here is that you will take a percentage of my fish produce or revenue, and that is what we call a promise. And by promising dividends, this is where dividends come in. It falls under the purview of the Securities Commission, and that's where the whole world is now saying that ICO of these sorts are illegal, because you are offering dividends, or you're offering a pseudo shares, you're offering a preferred share, however you want to define it. That falls under the Securities Commission.
I have another question from Facebook, if I may. Yeah. Okay, it's Shasha Ivanov. He's asking, how will NEM fix the issue with the size of the blockchain? He says it is 1 gigabyte because NEM has 3,000 transactions per day. What if 100,000 per day?
Yep. Well, we are well aware of this thing, and we have a solution to that. It's called pruning. So I believe the question was, how are we going to fix the bloating and when it becomes a terabyte sort of data? Basically, is like about priority. It's about knowing that a problem will come, but knowing that we don't need to solve this problem because it's not urgent. So it is in the pipeline that we will prune our blockchain data in time to come, but the time is not now.
Okay, thank you in the name of Sasha.
Any more questions from the room?
Thanks. I'm just going to ask the question. I'm sure you know who is going to answer which one. So we're going to have two forks. One of them is definitely going to be a fork, and the other one we're just basically trying to know if it's a yes or no. But my main question was especially about Ethereum, is that in NEM you have the proof of importance, and that's a little bit different than where Ethereum is and where it wants to go. So are you in favor of Ethereum is really trying to change all of the miners, and try to kind of make them angry, or you think that maybe what you do is even better than that? And from the other side, I was just trying to know if SegWit2x is going to be a yes or a no. Thank you.
Yeah, me first. So, but I tell you one thing. I have tried to understand the proof of stake thing, and I don't understand it. I tried to understand the proof of importance, and I didn't get it either, right? So I think that we have to make an effort to make simple consensus algorithms, something that people can understand. If not, if you cannot trust the algorithm that is used for consensus, you cannot trust the network. So that's my opinion. So that's a fundamental problem I have with proof of stake. Maybe it's very smart, maybe it's very. I have seen the Ethereum architect explain that to me. That I didn't get it. I was reading today roughly through the proof of importance. I kind of started understanding it, but then there were these things like this. Things that are complicated. So I think that we need to make it simple. So it's not adding any value, and is really confusing everybody overall if we don't have very clear answers to things like how do we validate transactions.
Well, I think the first thing that we need to realize is that the proof of anything, proof of X, right? X being whether it's stake, importance, or work, whatever, you know, or existence, is that we need to understand that this POX is a method of winning a reward, and the reward comes in Bitcoin coins. In fact, in every of the blockchain solution is about coins. It's about winning. It's about the chance of winning, and how hard you work, how important you are, how much stake you have. This is all about you being up at the forefront to get the reward. So that is a competition, basically. Proof of X is a competition, but proof of X also contribute to the consensus mechanism. So some projects has less influence on the consensus mechanism, some has more. So it all depends on the type of proof of X we are using. Now, in as far as NEM is concerned, what we really were looking at in the initial design was that proof of work is a waste of energy, you know, because again, it's about consensus and about winning, right? So why do we need to show and use a lot of computing power to actually make win a reward? So that's when we actually look at the proof of stake, and we thought it is not bad. So therefore, it is a usable, doable solution. But again, proof of stake is where, you know, there's a concentration of power. If the stake, in this sense, is the amount of crypto coins you have, get into a few, you know, a small group of people controlling the entire stakes of the coins, then it doesn't work quite well. And that's when we said, look, maybe what we'll do is with proof of stake, you reach a certain point where it is insignificant anymore, and the importance come in. And the importance come in where the more transactions you make, the more important you are in the network, because you contribute to the economy of the entire ecosystem, right? So, and then of course, along with it, we have other so-called security against me sending to Pedro, Pedro sending back to me, and then we are creating a huge economy here, right? Of course, we have things where we actually put a stop to it and not allow 5 of us circulating the money so that we are very important in the network. It doesn't happen that way either. So there are a lot of protection against that, and that's where the proof of importance came in. So basically, proof of stake with a so-called index on your activity in the network that gives you the importance. Basically, at the end of the day, you look at it, it's a very socialist network that we have. Socialist because all of us are not important. All of us are equally important, in fact, well, with some exceptions, so therefore, it is quite well balanced.
Any more questions?
I was just also trying to, maybe last question was just a segue 2 weeks. So is the yes or is a no? Do you think it's a good thing for Bitcoin?
Well, this is a no. We know it. It's
no.
going to be a no. Yeah, so.
Do you think it's going to happen? Or
No, I think it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Any more questions? I don't think so.
Okay, so thank you, Lon. Thank you, Enrique, for your opinions and for your discussion.